that anyone who works hard gets a good paycheck, buys nutritious, delicious food, and a nice home in a safe neighborhood. That anyone from anywhere can do anything. That was the promise, right? But that promise, like everything else after 9 years of Justin Trudeau, is broken. Tout est brisé, il a perdu le contrôle. Mais j'ai une bonne nouvelle pour tout le monde. Tanya et moi allons réparer ce qu'il a brisé et restaurer la promesse du Canada. Good food like apples, for example. Anybody like apples? Well, there's going to be prizes. There's going to be a test today. You want an apple? This guy got his hands up the fastest, so he gets an apple right there. It's okay, you can get an apple later on if you respond to the quiz that I'm going to put out to everybody. You know, an apple a day will keep the woke journalists away. Wow, quelle belle troupe, quel rassemblement dans la grande région de Montréal, hein? Les médias nous disent qu'il n'y a pas de conservateurs dans la région de Montréal. Je vois beaucoup de conservateurs ici aujourd'hui. Et je vois beaucoup de libéraux dans les salles. Il y a des libéraux. On a un ancien député libéral ici. Wow! Venez ici. On a un ancien député libéral ici. Wow! Ça fait longtemps, ça fait quelques années. Oh là! Feliz Navidad! Pourquoi décider de venir ici aujourd'hui?
En premier, mon nom c'est Vanessa, je suis ancienne députée libérale dans le comté de Vigny à Laval et je viens de Blainville pour encourager notre chef des partis conservateurs, le futur Premier ministre. Parce que après ces longues années, we don't want to let Trudeau ruin the country more. I think it's about time. It's about time to make a change. Every single one of you is seeing what's going on, and we need to make a change to encourage our candidates. Every single move is very important. We're losing the future of our youth. We're not able to eat. We're not able to live decently. And it's about time to make a change. And that's why I'm here, to encourage. It's the second time I come. I'm so happy to see you. And
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. La réalité, c'est qu'elle n'a pas quitté le Parti libéral. C'est le Parti libéral qui a quitté tous les bons libéraux à travers le Canada. N'est-ce pas?
c'est juste pour vous dire, j'ai commencé, oui, c'est vrai, avec le Parti libéral. Je pensais que c'était un parti centriste. OK. Des idées qui me conviennent, d'autres qui ne me conviennent pas. Et je me suis tenue debout là-bas au Parlement. Et souvent, des députés, des ministres venaient me voir. Allez-vous voter contre nous ou avec nous? Donc, je n'étais pas une simple députée. I wasn't a follower. I was doing my best to support and put my community and work hard. And maybe they didn't want people like me. But it's not a big deal. We have a real leader who can bring common sense to Canada. Happy for you and good luck, Mr. Poilièvre.
Wow, isn't that incredible? I didn't even know she was going to be here. Former Liberal MP, another strong woman who's decided to support the common sense Conservatives and bring home the country we knew and still love. Il n'y a pas si longtemps, il y a eu un consensus de gros bon sens au Canada. Les libéraux croyaient dans la liberté. Et les conservateurs voulaient le conserver. Donc, on s'attendait sur beaucoup de choses. Les années chrétiennes, Harper, Mulroney, on a bien équilibré les budgets, on a eu liberté d'entreprise, liberté de parole, on respectait tout le monde. Mais avec Justin Trudeau, il y a eu un grand changement. Trudeau n'est pas libéral. Il est très anti-libéral, en fait, parce que le wokisme, c'est le contraire de libéralisme. C'est exactement le contraire. Justin Trudeau is not a liberal. He's deeply illiberal. Wokeism is the opposite of liberalism. It puts people into different groups, racial, gender, ethnic, divides people everywhere you can imagine. Vaccine status, you name it. They shut down freedom of speech, try to control everybody's life. We used to have a common sense consensus. Liberals believed in liberty, conservatives believed in conserving it. We believed in a small government with big citizens, where the state was the servant and the people were in charge. That was the geopolitical plan. We rewarded hard work. We rewarded hard work with low taxes, and we welcomed people from all around the world. And when they got here, we said, sure, bring your culture, bring your stories and traditions. Leave your troubles at home. Come here, and by the way, congratulations, here's a Canadian flag. It's worth more than anything in the world. Et maintenant, Justin Trudeau a perdu le contrôle. Il a perdu le contrôle de nos frontières, de notre système d'immigration. Il a perdu le contrôle des dépenses, de la dette, de l'inflation. Le gouvernement est plus grand, les citoyens se sentent plus petits. Tout est brisé. On a vu que le coût de logement a doublé. Le coût de loyer à Montréal a triplé en 9 ans. Incroyable, il y a 9 ans, ça coûtait 700 $ pour louer un appartement d'une chambre pour un mois. 700 $, maintenant c'est plus de 2000 après 9 ans de Justin Trudeau. C'est la folie. C'est ridicule. Right now, after 9 years of Trudeau, everything costs more. Work doesn't pay. You make it, he takes it. Housing costs have doubled. In Montreal, they have tripled. In fact, you could rent a one-bedroom for $700 just 9 years ago, on average. Now it's over $2,000. After he ran money printing and immigration out of control, driving up demand, and he funded local bureaucracies that block home building, restricting supply, leaving us with the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7, even though we have by far the most land to build on. Crime, chaos, drugs, and disorder overtake our once peaceful and calm streets. As violent offenders, career car thieves, criminal perverts are repeatedly released onto our streets, often within hours of their most recent arrest. Rampant violence and racial tensions now predominate. We see riots, anti-Semitic outbursts like we never saw before, foreign conflicts that have been going on for decades and generations but never reached our shores are now somehow spilling into our streets. I say this to many of my friends here in the Montreal region, particularly our friends of an Anglophone background who've been very loyal to the Liberal Party. It's clear what you've done for the Liberal Party and for Justin Trudeau. It's not clear what he's done for you. What has he done for you? He's ruining your life. Il est en train de ruiner tout ce qu'on prenait pour acquis auparavant. But the good news, my friends, is life was not like this before Justin Trudeau, and it won't be like this after he's gone. nous allons reprendre le contrôle. Nous allons commencer en reprenant le contrôle des dépenses, de la dette, des taxes, des impôts et de l'inflation. Ça commence en contrôlant les dépenses. Les dépenses sont hors de contrôle. M. Trudeau a augmenté le coût du gouvernement de 80%. He's increased the cost of government by 80%. He's doubled the national debt, added more debt than all prior prime ministers combined. This has led to inflation. It's a very simple concept. This is how inflation works, or adjusted inflation, as I call it. You have an economy with 10 apples and $10. It's a buck an apple. You double the number of dollars to 20, but you still only have 10 apples. Well, you're not twice as rich, just that each apple now costs twice as much, because you've got more money bidding on fewer goods. Now, this is actually very good news if you're a billionaire, because your assets will be bid up if you have gold, watches, fancy wines, paintings, stocks, or land, speculative land holdings. All of them inflate in value. But if you're a wage earner or a pensioner, your purchasing power has now gone down because your wage buys less than it did before. The apple now costs you twice as much, even though you're still making as much in nominal terms as you were before. Donc, c'est une façon d'enlever l'argent de la classe ouvrière pour le donner aux très riches et à la bureaucratie. It's a way of taking from the have-nots to give to the have-yachts. It's great for big business and big government. It is a disaster, even a tragedy for the working class youth, for the seniors on fixed incomes, and for the small businesses that must face the rising cost. Hence why, after 9 years of Trudeau, the gap between rich and poor is now the biggest since Statistics Canada started to measure. So what's the solution? We have to stop the spending. Money printing, inflation, taxes, debt are all just the symptoms. The illness is overspending. My common sense plan will slash the bureaucracy. We will reduce the number of bureaucrats by attrition. We will cut back on the outsourcing to consultants. We will cut back on corporate welfare, le baisse sociale aux grandes entreprises qui amènent nos emplois ailleurs. We're going to eliminate the corporate welfare spending and use the money to reduce taxes for real entrepreneurs and for workers. Instead, nous allons couper l'aide à l'étranger. On va arrêter d'envoyer notre argent aux dictatures et aux terroristes à l'extérieur du pays. We're going to cut back. We're going to cut back on the foreign aid that goes to dictators like the communist regime in Beijing, which got $250 million of our tax dollars from Trudeau. That's gone. We will cut back on the terror financing UNRWA to stop funding anti-Semitism. On va ramener cet argent chez nous. On va mettre en place une loi de gros bon sens qui dit que chaque fois qu'on ajoute $1, il faut trouver $1 d'économie. C'est comme ça que les mères monoparentales, les petites entreprises et les aînés gèrent leurs propres dépenses. C'est comme ça qu'on va gérer les dépenses du gouvernement. The great economist Thomas Sowell said the number one rule of economics is scarcity. There's never enough to meet all the demands. And the number one rule of politics is to ignore the number one rule of economics. Now, why is that? Et Dominique Fienne, une grande conservatrice, a fait cette pointe à la Chambre des communes ces jours-ci, quand elle condamnait le déficit qui est hors de contrôle. Now, why is it that politicians can ignore the number one rule of economics? Why? Because in the entire universe, politicians are the only ones that don't have to live with scarcity. The birds and the trees, the fish and the seas, they all have to maximize use of scarce resources, but not the politician. He can simply externalize his scarcity by making everyone else go without, by passing the cost on to you through higher taxes, debt, and inflation. He avoids the normal either-or trade-offs that normal people have to make every single day. the single mom says, well, if we're going to redo the porch this year, we can't take a vacation. Or we need to get a bargain on both the wood for the porch and the vacation itself, so that both come in under budget. If we impose that kind of scarcity within the government, bureaucrats and politicians will have to try to maximize use of scarce resources. Yes. In the years of 1990s, the Americans passed a dollar for dollar law. It was the first time, the only time since I've been alive, that the US government balanced its budget. They paid off $400 million of debt, had a massive economic boom because they constrained the cost of Washington on the shoulders of their entrepreneurs. And as soon as the law lapsed, they went right back into deficit, proving that politicians need legal limits on their spending. You've been pinching your pennies long enough, it's time for government to start pinching its pennies. C'est pas juste les dépenses qui est dans le contrôle, c'est le cabinet libéral. On voit aujourd'hui que M. Trudeau est en train d'essayer de congédier sa ministre des Finances. Well, we were just going to fire her and him in the election. But it's unfair. She promised the deficit would never go more than $40 billion. That was her guardrail, right? Where do guardrails go? Right next to cliffs. You go through a guardrail, you go off the cliff, right? So he's pushing her through all of his relentless, insatiable spending appetites through this guardrail and pushing all of us off the cliff. And then this fake feminist wants to blame her for his failing. You know, he was busy telling the Americans that they were all sexist because of their decision in the election. He thinks that the government should be led by a woman. That's great. He should step aside and hand the job to Chrystia Freeland right now, right? N'est-ce pas? Si c'est vrai féministe, mais non, parce que c'est pas, pour lui, il s'en fout des droits des femmes, il veut simplement utiliser ça pour distraire de ses propres échecs. And he's going to once again do what he did to Jody Wilson-Raybould, to Jane Philpott, and to so many other strong women. He's going to throw them off the cliff, and then he's going to bring in carbon tax Carney, the Davos man, fresh off the plane from Davos. He'll come here with all of his ideas of you'll own nothing and be happy, right? Davos man. And put him in charge to try and cover up 9 years of failing. But he's not going to get the chance because common sense conservatives are going to defeat all of them in the next election. And once we have taken back control of spending, that will allow us to bring down the deficit. Stop the money printing. Get the Bank of Canada back to its core responsibility, that is to say, low inflation and preserving our purchasing power. Le Banque du Canada va pas devoir imprimer de l'argent. On va encore protéger la valeur de notre monnaie pour préserver ce que vous avez travaillé fort à gagner. Nous allons couper les taxes et les impôts pour que le travail redevienne payant encore. We're going to cut taxes so the hard work once again pays off. Part of my common sense, Canada First plan to respond to the threats of President Trump is to pass policies that will bring home production and paychecks to this country. That means lowering taxes on workers and entrepreneurs so that hard work pays off. It pays to take risks and make investments. And we treat our entrepreneurs as heroes again for the wealth that they create. Entrepreneurs généreux. Un de nos députés, c'est l'entrepreneur. Il y a quelques entreprises, c'est aussi le député le plus généreux au pays. Et il ils créent des emplois. On devrait rembourser les entrepreneurs avec des réductions de taxes et d'impôts pour qu'ils puissent engager encore de monde, pour qu'ils puissent réduire encore ces prix pour les consommateurs. Et c'est ce que nous allons faire. Nous allons aussi éliminer la loi C-69. C'est une loi anticonstitutionnelle pour libérer la production de nos ressources naturelles et ramener les emplois chez nous. Canada first, le Canada d'abord. On va mettre le Canada d'abord en produisant plus d'hydroélectricité. Oui, plus de nucléaire. Les Français, les Ontariens utilisent le nucléaire. On devrait l'approuver pour les gens dans les prairies qui essaient de remplacer d'ajouter à leur électricité. We have the biggest supply of uranium on planet Earth. We have the CANDU reactors, the safe reactors invented by Canadian engineers. We could be using nuclear power, our own atoms, in order to generate this clean, emissions-free energy. These massive data centers that would be responsible for powering AI and other major technological breakthroughs in the future, they require energy. We have that energy. You know, artificial intelligence, by the way, we have a lot of that in the government as well. Just a different kind. But we have the 5th biggest supply of natural gas, the 3rd biggest supply of oil, the number 1 supply of uranium. We have 4 coasts. We have the biggest supply of clean drinking water anywhere on planet Earth. We have forestry. We can unleash the potential of this country in a way that we should be the richest nation on Earth with all these resources. Extrémistes qui cachent leur idéologie extrême en arrière de l'environnement. Par exemple, le gouvernement Poilièvre va annuler le décret Caribou. On va permettre nos travailleurs dans le secteur forestier de produire plus de bois pour bâtir plus de logements pour tous les Canadiens. We're going to build the homes. We need to build the homes. How is it that we have the fewest homes per capita of any country in the G7? Even though we have by far the most land to build on, the answer is we have the worst bureaucracy. This is entirely self-harm, the fact that we have the most expensive housing in the G7. Do you know, they just came out a week ago, Toronto is now more expensive than New York and Chicago. Chicago's housing costs are half of Toronto's, even though Chicagoans make 50% more money. Seattle's, look at those babies they're crying too. The little one here, look at that. Little one is worried. Is this your little one here? Who is that? Number 4. Oh, you're a busy woman. What's the name? What's the name? Elian. I think Elian is worried about the national debt that Elian is going to pay. Poor little Elian. Look at that. Isn't that mean to give debt to a beautiful little child like that? I don't like Elian heckling me here. It's just like being in the House of Commons. That's all. But, all right, where was I, Elian? You made me lose my place. We were talking about building homes, right? So, the reason is that we have the 2nd slowest building permits. 1/3 of the cost of every newly built home is taxes, direct taxes. And beyond that, then there's the bureaucratic soft costs of delays, lawyers, accountants, bureaucrats that you have to fund. In Vancouver today, 60% of the cost of a home is government. More money from a new home in Canada today goes to bureaucrats in office buildings than goes to carpenters, electricians, and welders who actually build the homes. And what's even more insulting is that the carpenters who build our homes cannot afford to live in them. It is a shame, actually. Le fait que le charpentier qui bâtit nos maisons n'est pas capable d'acheter ces maisons, c'est une honte à notre pays, mes amis. And we have to fix it. But we will slash the bureaucracy and cut taxes to build homes, starting with taking the GST off homes to save you up to 50 grand. And you made a big pièce sur les nouveaux logements, les nouvelles maisons. Ça va stimuler 30 000 plus de logements par année. Parce que quand on réduit la taxe sur quelque chose, on va en avoir plus de ça. En plus, je vais encourager les provinces de faire pareil, enlever leurs taxes de vente de logements et des maisons. Et on va inciter les municipalités d'accélérer les permis, réduire les frais de développement et libérer les terrains pour bâtir 15% de plus par année. We will incentivize our local governments to speed up permits, free up land, and cut development charges to build 15% more homes per year so that our young people can put a roof overhead, and we're going to get these homes built. Build the homes. 8. Nous voulons que ces maisons soient dans des communautés sécuritaires. Maintenant, ce n'est pas le cas. La criminalité est hors de contrôle après 9 ans de Justin Trudeau parce qu'ils permettent tous les criminels de se libérer des minutes après leur dernière arrestation. So, I'll give you an example. This is an example you could take from any city, but BC has been courageous enough to publish the data. So it's true everywhere. 40 offenders in Vancouver were arrested 6,000 times in 1 year. 40 guys, 6,000 times. That's just the times they got caught. And you know what? Let's give these guys credit. That takes work. You got to be up at the crack of dawn, robbing a bank. You got to be carjacking by noon, selling fentanyl on a street corner by 2 p.m. if you're going to get caught and arrested every 2 days, all year long. And they're not even unionized. They don't have benefits. They live off commission. They do get some room and board, though, right? They go to jail just long enough to sleep there. But it's like the Hotel California. They check out, but they never really leave, right? In Penticton, there's one guy. His name is Levi. This is a true story. The police told me this. The police can tell whether Levi has been in jail or not based on the crime rate for the entire city. When he's out of jail, he single-handedly raises the crime rate for all of Penticton. I tell this story when I'm there. Everybody knows Levi. Oh yeah, he was skulking around my car last night. Oh yeah, he was in the store trying to rip me off this morning. Maybe it's time we kept Levi in jail, right? Maybe he should stay in jail. So here's my common sense plan. We're going to repeal C5 using la loi de Pierre Paulus. On va éliminer C5 qui fait les peines Netflix et permettre des criminels de faire leur peine dans la maison, regardant Netflix. We're going to get rid of C5 using Pierre Paulus's bill. There will be no more Netflix sentences where criminals are able to serve in their living room, watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. They will be in jail. We will also repeal C75, the catch and release bail law. And we will pass a new law that says career car thieves, repeat violent and sexual offenders will be permanently ineligible for bail, probation, house arrest, or parole. Jail, not bail. Jail, not bail. We're gonna lock the criminals up behind bars, and we're going to respect the law-abiding people, right? We're going to scan the shipping containers. You know, 99% des conteneurs qui entrent et quittent le pays ne sont pas inspectés. C'est pour ça que nos frontières sont tellement vides, tellement faciles à entrer. En fait, Ça fait en sorte que nos autos sont volées, ils vont dans les conteneurs, ils vont dans le Moyen-Orient, en Afrique, en Europe, pour supporter les terroristes, la mafia et les autres groupes de crimes organisés. On va engager plus de monde sur le terrain, pas des bureaucrates à Ottawa, mais les bots sur le terrain au port à travers le pays. Et nous allons scanner les conteneurs. We're going to scan the shipping containers, 99% of which are uninspected. Scan the sea cans. So it's pretty simple, right? If you have a manifest and it says inside the shipping container is apples, and then you look at the scanner and it's a beamer. Well, then you take the box, you put it aside, you match the VIN to the owner, you call them up and say, were you planning to send your beamer to Turkey today? Oh, no, I wasn't. I went to bed and it was gone when I woke up. Oh, well, it's been stolen. It's at the port of Montreal. We're going to give it back to you. And then you go to the person who booked the shipping container and say, you're under arrest. Right? It's pretty simple. So it's a good old sense. Common sense. Now, you know how we're going to pay for it? We're going to cancel this ridiculous multi-billion-dollar gun grab that goes after licensed, law-abiding citizens. Depuis l'arrivée au pouvoir de Justin Trudeau, on a vu une augmentation dans la criminalité liée aux armes de 116%. Il a doublé le nombre de crimes avec armes depuis son arrivée au pouvoir. Il nous promet qu'il va bannir, mais il banne rien. Il a interdit aucune arme en réalité. Sa mission, c'est de bannir des armes de chasse. Mais c'est pas le grand-père du Saguenay qui cause la criminalité, le grand-père des chasseurs au Saguenay qui cause la criminalité au centre-ville de Montréal. C'est des gangs de rue et c'est les armes trafiquées. Listen, my friends, it's not Grandpa Joe's hunting rifle that's causing the crime. Going after Grandpa Joe, banning his hunting rifle, has done nothing but double gun crime after 9 years of Justin Trudeau. It's the criminals and the gun smugglers will be stopped and locked up. Justin Trudeau wants to protect turkeys from hunters. I want to protect Canadians from criminals. Canadians win this island. C'est ça la convention. On va aussi arrêter des drogues. Le fentanyl a tué 47 000 Canadiens. C'est plus que le nombre de personnes qu'on a perdues dans la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. C'est une drogue qui est faite pour tuer. Fentanyl is the silent assassin that has been quietly taking our loved ones now for 10 years. 47,000 people, more than died in the Second World War fighting for Canada, have died in the last decade because of fentanyl overdose. It's a drug that is 100 times more powerful than heroin. It is made to kill. And it is being manufactured in such large amounts in Canada that we are actually now a net exporter of the drug south of the border. One of the things that has provoked President Trump to question our security. This drug has effectively been legalized. Let's be honest. First of all, Trudeau signed a deal with the BC NDP to legalize open use and sale of fentanyl in British Columbia. Then they brought in these insane drug dens where they not only allow but encourage people to use hard drugs. Then they funded with taxpayer dollars, opioids to give people. They claim that these opioids are safe. These opioids themselves are stronger than heroin. How did we get into this mess in the first place? Let's reflect very quickly. Corrupt drug companies flooded North America with cheap OxyContin, and they told doctors and pharmacists it was neither addictive nor lethal. They knew they were lying. They had to pay $54 billion to the U.S. government in damages in a subsequent lawsuit where it was revealed that they were actually paying bonuses for every overdose a distributor could cause. Now, these same dirtbags who caused the opioid crisis are getting taxpayer-funded subsidies to continue to distribute the same pharmaceutical drugs that killed the people in the first place. So here's my common sense plan. One, we're going to bring in a total and a real ban on all of the drugs that are killing our people. Two, we're going to stop them from coming in at our borders and our ports. Three, we're going to bring in much tougher sentences for the drug kingpins who manufacture and distribute fentanyl. Three, we're going to have our borders secure to stop China from sending in the ingredients that are subsequently cooked into this poison. The Chinese know exactly what they're doing. They're killing our people with the help of Mexico. We are going to secure all of our borders to interrupt the supply of these ingredients. We're going to lock up the criminals that are causing the drug deaths, and then we're going to invest in treatment and recovery to bring our loved ones home drug-free. And you know how we're going to pay for that? I said there'd be a dollar for dollar law. We are going to sue the corrupt pharmaceutical companies and collect billions of dollars in damages from them. We're going to restore our freedom to this country again, my friends. Freedom and equality. Les principes qui ont uni notre pays. C'est exactement le contraire du wokisme. Le wokisme, ça cherche à diviser et contrôler la population. Wokeism has one goal, power and control for the state. And one technique, divide and conquer. That's why they're always trying to turn people against each other. Define people by race, separate them into groups, pit them against each other. We've seen this on the floor of the House of Commons. Liberals are now fighting with each other. It's true. No, it's true. They sent one group of MPs to go into a synagogue and say one thing, and another group of MPs to go into a mosque and say exactly the opposite. One group of MPs to go into a Hindu mandir and say one thing. Another group to go into a Sikh Gurdwara and say exactly the opposite. And now, the MPs from these two sides are fighting openly within the Liberal caucus. It's amazing. They tried to divide and conquer Canadians, and they're now dividing and conquering themselves. The great thing about Canada was that we left those divisions at our borders. We welcomed people in. We said, you're Canadian now. You're Canadian first. Quand ma femme est venue à Montréal, elle a accepté qu'elle allait être canadienne en premier. Elle n'allait pas inviter des problèmes de l'Amérique du Sud. Elle a laissé ses problèmes en arrière. And she was very grateful to be able to leave behind the problems from the country she came from, to accept the blessings of a very generous and welcoming country called Canada. C'est comme ça que notre système d'immigration a fonctionné. Nous allons continuer d'inviter les gens, mais dans les nombres acceptables qu'on veut absorber dans notre marché de logement, de travail et dans notre système de santé. Et on va avoir des craintes pour empêcher les terroristes et les autres qui sont contre nos valeurs d'entrer dans notre pays. We are going to continue to be welcoming. And we're going to bring people in numbers that we can absorb into our housing and job market and into our health care and social services, numbers that are realistic and that allow people who arrive here to actually succeed. And we will have, once again, strong security screening to keep terrorists out and protect not only our people, but our way of life. We're going to repeal the censorship laws, C-11 and C-63. ministers and MPs from any involvement in the World Economic Forum. Et nous allons rebâtir notre militaire pour défendre notre pays. We will rebuild our military by taking money from wasteful foreign aid, back office bureaucracy, and procurement boondoggles and putting it on the front line so that our men and women can protect our country. And they will be guided by a warrior culture, not a woke culture. Reprendre le contrôle, restaurer le gros bon sens. We're going to bring home the country that we knew and still love. A country where anyone from anywhere can do anything, where hard work gets a powerful paycheck that buys affordable food and home